And excuse me, I forgot in my fervor to introduce somebody that all that fervor that I just gave you has been a mentor to me and somebody I've got the utmost respect for. Scott Duty, he is going to soon be back on the radio with WINI and some changes that the WHCO radio group is putting together, and I think you're definitely going to want to hear what he's got to say. Scott, step right up.
You see what Will thinks about me. He forgot about me and had to be reminded. I do want to thank John Stanley for using... Don't have a teleprompter. I want to thank John Stanley for inviting me over. That obscene phone calls he talked about earlier was me. No, I could have written a speech. I could have used a teleprompter, but I think fancy speeches and teleprompters have gotten us where we're at today. So how about just a little plain talk? We thought the president was pretty smart, and we found out his teleprompters don't work, and then he kind of gets hung up. So I didn't want that problem, so I'll just make it up as I go along. What do we want to do today?
Win. Send a message to Washington.
You folks took off work. See, this is a tax revolt. You ain't working, so you're not paying any taxes today.
Oh, we're going to pay anyway.
What do you, seriously, what do you want to do? And let me run a few things by you, and like Will, I'm going to tell you a little story.
Send a message.
And then I'm going to try to tell you what I think we can do about it. Because it doesn't do us any good to take off work, or go in late to work today, or pull off what you're doing to come here and be fired up by speeches and then go home and forget about it. And Will touched on that a little bit. What are we going to do? Are we going to take up arms? Because like John Stanley talked about with the Constitution, we can't take up arms because that's against the Constitution. We need to peacefully address our concerns to the government. What's the second option?
Pray.
Do nothing?
No.
Are we going to leave here and forget about this tonight and then go on about tomorrow? Because that's what your United States Congress wants you to do.
Absolutely.
They want you to forget about this and do nothing.
No re-elections.
That's where I'm going. You stole some of my speech. Don't steal my thunder. The third option is an option that the Founding Fathers put together because they knew this day was coming. And you have to ask yourself a simple question. Do you think the people running the country today, the U.S. Congress, the senators, President Obama, and whoever really runs the country that we don't know about,
Rahm Emanuel.
do you Rahm. Do you think those folks were smarter than the Founding Fathers were?
No.
All right. Here's what the Founding Fathers did, because again, to reiterate the point, they knew this day was coming. They put 1/3 of the U.S. Senate up for election. They didn't want you to be able to completely overturn the United States Senate in one election cycle. They wanted 2/3 to be able to stay so we would have some calmness on the rough seas. But what did they do with the House? The People's House. The blue-collar House. John Stanley said he was a working man. They put the entire House up every 2 years.
Yes.
Are you tired of hearing about Nancy Pelosi?
Yes.
And how about, help me out, Will, what's his face? Barney Frank.
Don't forget Don.
And this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue because this is my personal opinion. Both parties have failed us. What about the Republican, the minority speaker, before the Democrats took over that was handing out checks on the House floor from the tobacco companies? So brazen about it, he didn't hide the checks and hand them out behind closed doors. He did it on the House floor, my floor and yours. So the three options are do nothing, take up arms, which is illegal, and we shouldn't do that if we believe in the Constitution, or November next year, vote for the challenger. Now let this sink in a minute. Because all of your lives, some of you folks have been lifelong Democrats, some of you have been Republicans, and some have been independents. And I don't see any hippies in the crowd, but there's some Green Party folks out here too. You're going to have to put aside your personal beliefs and what you believe in politically one time, and you'll only have to do it once. If you're a lifelong Democrat and there is a Republican challenging for your U.S. House seat, you're going to have to vote for the Republican. If you're a lifelong Republican, you're going to have to vote for the Democrat. Now, don't get confused with third parties. I'm a libertarian, but let me tell you, when you vote third party, you've just wasted your vote. There are two parties running this country, and we're going to have to work in that two-party system. Unlike the people that represent us today, we've got to outthink them. So don't get confused in the third-party business. If the Democrat has the job, fire him. If a Republican has it, fire him. Can you imagine the mainstream stroke that they'll have that night on election night next year when the election results come in and every United States congressman has been fired? Now, you want to give the mainstream media something to talk about other than the new president's dog. Give them something to talk about next November. The Founding Fathers knew we could fix this problem, and they gave you the option. Don't worry about the U.S. Senate. Don't worry about Will brought up the state, and the state's important. You don't have to fix all those problems. We don't have to fight a lot of battles on a lot of fronts. You only need to change the House, because trust me, what the rest of them don't want to do is do what you and I do every day, which is work for a living. You talk about send a message to the United States senators, your state reps, your state senators, your city councilmen. They'll think, hey, these people are fired up. I could be like that United States congressman, unemployed, looking for a real job. So when you leave here tonight, here's how you can fix this problem, because it sounds easy. Hey, we'll just vote everybody out. Because the problem is, my U.S. congressman's a good guy. It's your United States congressman, your district, screwing everything up. Now, we can't on election day, some do, but I don't advise this. On election day, I can't come to your district and fire your guy, and you come to my district and fire mine. We can't do that. Here's how you solve this problem when you leave here today. Talk radio is a friend to working people. The mainstream media has completely abandoned this country.
Yeah.
If you think CBS and NBC and ABC share your values, you better think again. Talk radio is the working people's broadcast. Go home, start a website. FireTheCongress.com. FireThemAll.com. Stop the madness. You pick the domain name and set it up. And start listing, and I don't know how many represent, 435, or they probably snuck a few in on us, that's how they are. List all 435 names and talk about what they do. And then call Talk Radio and say, I've got a website, and it is FireTheCongress in 2010.com. Drive traffic to that website. Tell your friends and your neighbors to come to the website. Look at the 435 congressmen and women. Learn their names. Find out what they're doing. Spread the word in other districts. It doesn't take a whole lot of organization to beat these people at their own game. Most of these elections are won by 20 points or less. That is 2 people out of 10 changing their minds and firing the incumbent. 89% of the time, the U.S. Congress is reelected. In 2010, let's make the reelection rate 0%. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate your time.